More Than Strength. Welcome to More Than Strength. My name is Dan Flanick, and on today's episode, we're going to throw a curveball at you. We're not going to be interviewing a famous strength and conditioning coach or personal trainer. We're not going to be interviewing somebody who shares a story about how they've used strength to overcome a physical or mental barrier. But what we are going to be sharing is a story of a man out in California by the name of Sander Daniels, who's the co-founder of an app and website called Thumbtack. Now, if you've never heard of Thumbtack or you don't like Thumbtack, then this interview is definitely something that you want to listen to. Now, I'm not going to dive into exactly what Thumbtack is in this introduction. We're going to save that for our talk with Mr. Sander Daniels. But without further ado, Mr. Sander Daniels. Sander, thank you for coming on the show. I'm really excited to have you because you're a lot different than most of the people that we have on this podcast. And I'm excited to have you explain to people how you indirectly really impact the fitness world, amongst other worlds as well. But first, let's give them a little bit of background. So I told them your name already, Sander Daniels. What do you do and where are you from? Like, give us a little background on you.
Cool, Dan. Well, thanks a million for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm stoked to be here on your podcast. I've heard great things about it. So yeah, my name is Sander Daniels. I'm one of the founders here at Thumbtack. Thumbtack is a consumer service that helps people get anything they need done. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I'm originally from Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., grew up there, went to high school there, went to college up north in Connecticut. I went to law school, which I can talk a little bit more about why I did that maybe. And then about 6-7 years ago, we started Thumbtack and with a couple friends. We moved out here to San Francisco, my wife and I and my kid, and we've been out here for the last 5-6 years cranking on Thumbtack, me and my friends, and now there's a lot more people who've joined this journey other than just us.
Yeah, it's definitely grown. I'm sure. I can't even imagine what it must feel like for how big it's been getting, especially I feel like as of the last couple of years especially. But before we get into that, tell me about life before Thumbtack. You hit on a little bit, but I want to know Sander Daniels before Sander Daniels, co-founder of Thumbtack.
Yes, I have always felt lucky for all the opportunity I've been given. It's nothing crazy. I was born to a happy family and with a good head on my shoulders, and so I felt pretty lucky. And from an early age, I felt like I wanted to be able to do something that helped create opportunities for other people when I grew up. So the first route I went down was law and public policy and politics. And I said, well, if you can be in a position to help people, to help pass laws and rules and regulations, you can potentially help a lot of people. You can hurt a lot of people, but you can also help a lot of people if you do the right things. And so we went down that route. I went to law school. A couple of my friends from college also were in that same route, and we kept in touch. And then we got together and started brainstorming other ideas for other things we could pursue, and I can tell you a little bit about that story. But yeah, I've been married for 10 years. I have a 5-year-old. I have another kid on the way in a couple weeks here, actually. And yeah, my life is mostly work and family. And when I get some time, I will go to concerts. We love going to pop concerts and country shows. And I am not a trainer. I'm not a strength person, but I am an endurance person. So I played a lot of soccer. I've run. I've done half Ironman before. I still every day bike back and forth 30 minutes each way to the office just to try and stay in shape.
That's awesome. And I know you're being a little humble. I read about you a little bit, and I believe, did you go to Yale? Is that where you went to school?
Yeah, I went to Yale for college. I went to Yale for law school. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's Sander before, well, kind of leading up to Thumbtack. So that's the meat and potatoes of what we're really going to be talking about, because it's just like, we were talking before this, and the app has just, it's helped me. I'll give a 30-minute testimonial on how much it's helped change my life and let me accomplish a life that they never teach you about in school. And I want to hear your story of the inception of why Thumbtack was created and how you discovered that problem to solve for people.
Well, it's funny. You said that Thumbtacks helped you achieve something that you never imagined was possible, or that they don't teach you in school. And I feel the same way about stumbling upon Thumbtack. So if you'd asked me 10 years ago what I'd be doing today, the last thing in the entire world I would have told you is Thumbtack or starting a new business. I had gone through school. The way to succeed in school was just by studying and doing well in tests and working independently. And I was on, just normal path of getting a job, like a bunch of my friends. And then I kind of just got curious with some of my friends, and we got together pretty informally for a year. We had weekly phone calls where we thought of a little bit outside the box, and we said, well, what we're doing today in politics, public policy is pretty interesting, but another way to make a big change is through technology. And so why don't we think of ways to use technology, things to build in technology that, if successful, could have a big impact on a lot of people. And so we thought about different ideas, and there were some ups and downs during that period. One idea we thought of, we were really excited about it, and we were doing a lot of research and almost starting to build it. And then the next week, a company launched that had been developing it for 2 years and was just way ahead of the game. And we said, oh crap, this is annoying. That was our idea. And they just went and did it way better than we'd ever be able to. So that was our first setback. But then, we stopped feeling bad for ourselves pretty quickly and got back on the phone and continued thinking about ideas. And we looked around and we said, well, there's a problem we see. We see that, out there, first, it's a little bit difficult for consumers to find and hire people of all kinds to do different kinds of work and help them out. The different options that were available to help find and hire personal trainers or interior designers or photographers were word of mouth and informal networks mostly. And then that was coupled with things like the Yellow Pages, online listing directories with reviews, or even people going to their local coffee shops and seeing business cards thumbtacked to local bulletin boards of people who could help them out in different ways. And we said, that feels like it's pretty inefficient. It's a pretty tough way to find good people. It's hard to find people who are trustworthy, who are reliable, who are available, to know what a typical price is for their service. None of these ways feel satisfying, and so there must be a better way to do this. And then we thought about it from the side of the business owners, the people who are helping do these projects for different people, and we said, it is the number one problem of small business owners and independent professionals to find new customers. Everybody's wondering how they're going to put money in their pockets and help put food on the table for their family and help make something of themselves. So there's a real problem here. It's hard for consumers to find people, then it's hard for the businesses and the business owners to find new customers. So there's got to be a better way. So we then said, all right, well, there's a real human problem here. There's also a real business opportunity here. Probably you look around and there's Amazon and eBay that are huge marketplaces for products, but there's no huge marketplace yet for services. So why can't there be one? So let's go and try to build that. And that is kind of how Thumbtack started, and it's the vision we had then. It's the vision we're still going after today.
So you spoke about one of your setbacks, how you had an idea and then another company came out and just killed it.
Yeah.
What other setbacks, whether it's personal ones, like, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur just like you, and I understand that it's a roller coaster. And what were some of the things that maybe you went through as a person during this time, whether it was with your friends creating Thumbtack or just with your family as well, as long as you're comfortable sharing?
Oh my gosh, Dan, it's a roller coaster, as you know. It's there's so many ups, but there's also so many downs along the way. Man, I could talk for hours about this. So, starting something new is tough generally. The world is telling you not to do it, basically. And anytime you want to start something new and push a new idea out into the world and start building it, there are a million reasons to not do it. There are a million people telling you not to do it. It's easy to psych yourself out. It's easy for other people to psych yourself out of it. So some of the earliest, probably the number one early big struggle that I had with this was basically the social pressure not to do it from all my friends and family. Back in 2008, when we started this, starting a tech startup was not cool in the way it kind of is today. People were not talking about Silicon Valley. This was during the Great Recession. And none of my friends were going and helping out in tech or doing anything like that. My parents thought that starting this company was like one of the dumbest decisions I'd ever make. I had a good law firm job. My wife thought it was not smart for a while. She knew that we had a kid on the way, and Thumbtack would not provide me a steady income. We went for 2-3 years without any income, and then another couple years with super basic subsistence level income, basically. And so this was not the steady and stable route. And so there were a lot of people telling me not to do it. And then also with the idea itself, a lot of people had lots of different reasons that this would never work. One example is we've kind of built Thumbtack in an unusual way. We have, from the very beginning, been available in all 50 states in the United States. We've been available in 1,000 different categories of services, we call them. So, we do a great business in personal training, and we're one of the biggest places in the country where people hire and find personal trainers. But we don't just help out with personal training. We also do things like catering and general contracting and legal services and all kinds of stuff. And so a lot of people said, you guys are nuts. You're going after way too much. This will never work. You look at other companies that have built marketplaces like you're doing. Yelp started in just in San Francisco. Amazon started just with books. You guys are biting off way more than you can chew. And so, there were a million reasons that people said it would never work. And, in many ways they were right. This journey is kind of crazy. It's kind of irrational. The chances that company, when you start it, ever is even around for 3, 5, 8 years now, that ever is able to grow to a certain size are pretty low. It's pretty unusual to be able to do that. You have to get really lucky along the way. A lot of things have to break your way. Yeah, obviously you have to work hard, make good decisions, but so much of it also is luck. So in many ways they were right, and they were giving me good advice, and we just got lucky. So there's a lot of people who told us no. And then once we started, there have been a lot of harrowing moments along the way. The toughest period during our company's journey was probably in the fall of 2011. This was 3 years or so after we started the company. And the way it works out here with these technology startups is typically you get people who give you investment. They will come and put money into your company, and then you work for a little while, 12, 18, 24 months. And if you hit certain milestones, then you try and get more money from more investors, and that'll allow you to grow more. And then there's kind of this just treadmill of growing and getting more and more money. So during 2011, it was time to go get more money. The company, we needed more money from investors to be able to stay in business. And if we didn't raise the money we needed to raise, then we were going out of business pretty quickly. And we went and we started fundraising in the fall of 2011, and we talked to, I think it was like 40 or 50 venture capital firms out here. in the Bay Area, and we told them what we were doing and who we were, and 100% of them said no. One of them even gave us an offer to invest and then revoked it a couple days later because they got cold feet. And now it's just like the ultimate low. And, we had a pretty sizable team at that point, and we made plans to lay everybody off. And this was over Christmas. And there was a brief moment when I almost lost faith in the idea itself and the team. And I said, man, this is the worst. Luckily, at the very last minute, one of the investors that we talked to, the 46th investor or something, said yes and gave us enough money that that we could stay in business for another 12, 18, 24 months. And so we said, we're never going to let this happen again. That traumatized us so much that we said, never again are we going to put ourselves in a position where we don't control our own destiny. We want to control our own destiny. And so we hadn't been super focused on building a good revenue model, but for the next 18 months, we put a number up on the wall that was the amount of money we thought we need to make every month to be able to have a sustainable business and employ ourselves. We did everything we could to reach that number up on the wall, and that's all we focused on for that period of time. And by the end of it, we had done that, we had achieved that, and that kind of teed us up for success for the next many years. We're of course, we have to worry about revenue. We have a team to employ. Revenue helps us make the product better. It helps us market ourselves. It helps us have a bigger impact. Honestly, at the end of the day, though, what we care most about is building a great product. And so that's really the only period, those 18 months, where we have been just solely focused on revenue and making money.
Yeah, because obviously in order to be able to continue doing that you had to make that a priority, obviously.
Exactly.
So that's really it's inspiring, the challenges you went through. And I'm just curious, I really like to get inside the minds of people. And
yeah.
What was your mindset like going through that all? Because I mean, I've been in situations like that too. Nothing as grand as what you just described, but just the will to keep going. What were you telling yourself throughout that entire time? Like, did you set little goals for yourself? How did you find a way to basically be your own support system along the path?
Oh man, you know what? No matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, we all have challenges. We're all here on our journey, and you got to figure out a way to get through that. One thing that I try to do is be very just optimistic. I have for some reason, whether I learned along the way or was just born with it, I tend to be sometimes optimistic to a fault. And so sometimes it doesn't serve me the best, but it's what it does allow me to do is get through challenges. And so I see the best side of situations, and I try to ignore the bad things. And it's not like I ignore the bad things, but it's just like I don't get too wrapped up in them. And I think I try to put things in perspective. So even at the lowest moments of Thumbtack, I tried to step back and I said, all right, if Thumbtack fails, thankfully, I'm in a position to probably go get another job and help support my family. And oh, by the way, I have my health, I have my family, I have my friends. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. And so I was able to keep it in perspective. And I also knew that what I was doing was kind of this unrealistic and crazy thing. And I kind of, even though, I said I'm very optimistic, I said, well, the likely outcome here is that this fails. And so I kind of that was the baseline for me. The baseline was this is failing. This is not going anywhere. And so anything that we got above that, I was just ecstatic about. And, a lot of life and happiness is about setting expectations. If you have expectations that are too high, then it's tough to stay happy because you're always, measuring yourself against something that is oftentimes unrealistically high. I try to set my expectations pretty low actually and say I'm sure things aren't going to go very well, or this is really crazy. So that anything that's a little better than that, I get really excited about and helps me keep going. And okay, I'm making progress here.
That's funny. I have a mentor who kind of helps me, like guides me along my business and life journey. And he actually has, like, when I come up with a new idea or something that I'm going to go after, he actually has me write a pre-mortem rather than a post-mortem, like all the things that could just make this fail completely. And it's funny because that attitude almost, it's a tool to use to almost have that attitude and just recognize if you do way better than you thought you would, then awesome. But if you don't, then awesome too, because it's not like it's a shock to you or anything like that.
Exactly. And, I read a lot of books and study a lot about having a growth mindset. And I think that is really important trait to have if you're trying to grow something new, start your own business, because there are going to be setbacks along the way. And if you think about, if you try to enjoy the journey and try to think about your happiness as like the process of improving yourself and getting better, and just trying to be a better person and set small goals along the way, I think honestly that is probably the best way to like be fulfilled. In a lot of ways, it's if you're able to say, okay, my situation is temporary, I'm able to change my own situation, I'm able to improve myself, I'm able to improve the world around me through small steps and a little bit of hard work, then that creates opportunity for you, and it creates like a headspace where you can grow. It's a little bit tougher to take that leap and take those risks if you are scared that whatever failure you might encounter is permanent and unchangeable. So those are some tricks I use to maybe psych myself out and take those little risks.
It's funny how these things, like these themes and these methodologies for approaching life, they're very overlapping. So like what you just described in terms of maybe going after a business or life adventure or venture, whatever you're trying to do, it's the same exact thing. Like, although you're not a trainer or coach or anything, that's the same thing that you're doing when you're trying to achieve whatever fitness goals, just to tie it in a little bit to this subject area. But I have two more questions for you. Okay.
Cool.
The first one, I want to end on a high note. So I want to ask this one first. There are a lot of, I don't know a lot, but there's a mixed review, at least among the personal training world, of Thumbtack. Okay. I'm sure you're very well aware of it.
Yeah.
In terms of people saying it's a scam, people going as far to say that Thumbtack makes up fake people to send quotes so that you'll spend money on them, and kind of crazy things like that, which you and I both know are absolutely false. What would you tell that person if I were on here saying like Thumbtack doesn't work, it's a scam, and you made me waste a lot of money?
Yeah, well, we take this stuff very seriously. So obviously we do not make up requests. We are not a scam, just to try to set the record straight. We see, this is really simplifying things pretty greatly, but when we see people sign up on Thumbtack, we see generally two experiences. So on the one hand, somebody will sign up and they will, does it make sense for me to describe exactly how Thumbtack works before
It would probably be best.
All right, cool. So the way Thumbtack works is, say you're looking for a personal trainer for the next couple months. You come to Thumbtack, you tell us you need a personal trainer. You fill out a form with a bunch of specific questions about what type of training you're looking for, strength versus endurance. The questions way better than I do, I'm sure. We take that information, we send it to all the trainers in our network who might be able to do the job. And you as the personal trainer don't have to respond to that job, but if you choose to respond to it, then you pay us a fee. So from the customer's perspective, the consumer's perspective, they get up to 5 different quotes from personal trainers who are able and willing to do the job. From the personal trainer's perspective, they have the chance to get that client, but they don't have the guarantee of getting that client. And then from Thumbtack's perspective, we make up to five quotes times X dollars per quote. Okay. So that's how this works. So when a personal trainer signs up on Thumbtack, we see, very generally speaking, two different paths. One is they sign up, they spend maybe $50, $100, $200. They submit 10, 20, 30 quotes, whatever it is. And they hear back from a few of them. They get hired by a few of them. They think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I just spent $200 and I got 3 or 5 clients that are recurring clients. I'm going to make, $1,000 or more from these people over the course of time. This is awesome. I'm going to double down on it, grow my business this way. There's another set of personal trainers or people that sign up and they pay $50, $100, $200 to make quotes, and they might hear from 1 or 2 people and not get hired at all. And they're like, man, this really stinks. I just spent a couple $100 and didn't get hired for one job. I didn't earn $1. And that experience really sucks. And so it's mostly the people who have that experience that come and they say like, these aren't real customers. No way, I'm not winning these jobs. And so we've done a lot of work over the last 18 months to help improve this. You can imagine this problem was even worse a couple years ago than it is today. We've gotten a lot better. So one thing we've done that's a little bit counterintuitive is we've actually made it harder for new businesses to quote on Thumbtack. So it used to be the case that when you signed up on Thumbtack, you could just start spending money and quoting immediately. Today, however, we require that you have a pretty nice profile before you start submitting quotes. So you have to have a image on your business. You have to have a good description. You have to get a few reviews. The reason we did that is because we found that we were not setting people up for success if they signed up and, for example, didn't have any reviews. I mean, think about it. If you're looking to hire a personal trainer and you get 3 quotes and 2 of them are from trainers who have 40 or 60 reviews and another one and the other trainer has 0 reviews, which are you going to go with? You're going to go with the people who have lots of reviews every single time. Mm-hmm. And so now we try to at least get everyone to have a few reviews once they start. So there's things like that we've been trying to do. We also try to coach through our customer service team people about how to create a good profile, how to quote well. When we talk to people like you who are very successful on Thumbtack, we found that it has taken them quite a while to hone their strategies and practices for quoting on Thumbtack. When I first signed up, I was writing my messages with poor grammar, or I was never following up with people, or my photos looked bad. And now I've changed all of that, and I'm super professional, and I respond immediately, and I have my message that shows how great I am, and I never let an employee respond. I always say it's the owner, and I give them my phone number so they can text message me, and that builds credibility, and this is my strategy. And so we help through our customer service team people like hone their strategy for getting new clients much more quickly than they might if they were just by themselves doing it. What do you think? Does all that ring true to you?
Yeah, I cannot disagree with anything you said. That's exactly what it was like for me. Like I've developed a method that has significantly, I think I average on average about 1 client a week. I'm not saying every week I get a new client, but on average, that's what it works out to, just through basically a system that I've refined over hundreds and hundreds of quotes being sent to figure out basically the psychology and put myself in the shoes of somebody who's sitting on the other end of that quote. And what it really comes down to is you have to remember that person is actually a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would 100% agree with that. So now to end on a high note, what are some of the stories that have come out of Thumbtack? I mean, I just shared with you mine. I'm sure there's thousands of other ones like it, but is there anything, or maybe one that's very consistent that you hear, something that really sticks out in your mind when I ask this question of what stories bring a smile to your face when you think of what you have essentially created to make my life and people like me, our lives better, and the consumers' lives easier too?
I just feel glad that we can be a small part of helping people build their dreams and accomplish different things that they're setting out to do. The reason we started this company was to help people do that. And we get stories and thank you notes every day from people who, were down on the luck. They had lost their job. They were having trouble putting food on the table for their family and friends, or for their family. And then they say 6 months ago, I found Thumbtack. And since then, 80% of my income has come through Thumbtack. I'm able to put food on the table for my family again and lift my head up at home. Thank you, Thumbtack. Just on Friday at our office here in San Francisco, we hosted someone at our all company meeting who had flown in himself from Florida. He's a contractor in the Tampa Bay area, and he had reached out to one of the other founders, our CEO, and said, Marco, that's his name, I have a story for you. 2 years ago, I signed up on Thumbtack, and my wife thought it was crazy that I was going to be a contractor. It had always been a dream of mine. I took the leap. And since then, Thumbtack has booked me the entirety of my business, and I've earned $2 million on Thumbtack from my contracting business. And you got to go and tell everybody about this. And so he flew in and he came and talked to our employees, and we conducted lots of interviews with him, and we heard what his strategies are. And this was a guy who didn't take the traditional route. He was just trying to make something of himself, and he found a way online to find new customers and help put money in his pocket. And that's the kind of story that we take great pride in, and that brings a lot of us into the office every day and keeps us going. And we just want to keep doing that for a bunch of people. We're not perfect. There's a whole lot that we can do to improve, and we're working on it all the time. I hear more complaints than anybody, and I never profess to say that we are perfect. There's not anything we can do to improve, but I do feel generally proud of the work that we're doing, and we're always trying to get better.
That's awesome. Let's wrap it up there. I really appreciate you coming on here and taking the time to do this and share your message and the reason why you've created this. You and your friends have created this amazing app to help change people's lives if they learn how to use it and use it correctly. And do you have anything else to add? Where can people find you? And how do they get using Thumbtack? Where do they go?
Well, just go to thumbtack.com. I'm always available. You can email me, Sandra@thumbtack.com. I'm available. I'm happy to have had the opportunity to be here today and to be a small part of your journey.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, Dan, take care.